What do you like better about the TV series and the film series?
Oh, I don't really like anything better except the working conditions. You know, they kill me on the movies. They absolutely kill me. I never I mean, I've never worked harder in my life than I worked on part 3, and then part 4 came along. And I mean, I've done a lot. And part 3, I mean, I couldn't complain because I'd get done at 2 in the morning and I'd see my director still plotting out the next day's work, and God, he can be here. I gotta, And then on part 4 it was the same. We were working 5 units at once on part 4. I'd come to work, and my skin would start to tingle the moment I approached the off ramp, because it knew the glue was coming. I was like a dog that knew where the vet was, and I'd pull up, and I pulled up one day, and they literally had a sandmation, like claymation, they had a sandmation unit in the parking lot. It was like 106 degrees. And there's our art department out there in bikinis with white zinc oxide on their noses doing sand paintings in the parking lot, turning into Freddy's house. And I was going, I can't take it anymore. No. The next thing I know, they're going to start using lunch hour to film something, Start using the macaroni as a shot of guts or something. Oh, yeah, we can use it. I was like, God, it was horrible.
What do you think about the producers? People asking these stations to pull Freddy up to late night because some stations are airing at an earlier time.
Well, when it was pitched, when we sold to the syndicators, and this was like the last golden age of barter in syndication, we told them we can give you something really different, really extraordinary, plus you are getting the guarantee being Nightmare on Elm Street, Freddy Krueger. You're getting that, which is an automatic draw. Well, we found out we're a huge success. We're improving over lead-ins 200 to 600% in every market. We're beating network television in some major markets at 10:30 at night. But we can't do the quality show. We can't keep the edge in the show unless we're on after 10 o'clock at night because of the censorship that goes on, even in syndication. The later we get to go on, not only is our target audience awake then, I mean, let's be honest here, teenagers got TVs in their bedrooms now, most of them, even if it's the hand-me-down, black and white, and they're watching at 11 o'clock at night or 10:30 at night after they've done their algebra, they're in there, or they're watching MTV or something, and we can do our best then. We don't have to worry about the unnecessary censorship. We can be a little stranger and we can deal with a little more edgy subjects. And that's why we want to be on that time of night. And so I think it is fair. I'll give you a strange thing, though. There was a local station here that censored one of our shows, the only show that's been censored out of 22, in Los Angeles. The director wrote Batteries Not Included. So, the director knows how to, he works with Spielberg. He knows how to do family fare. Batteries Not Included is almost saccharine. And that's nothing against Mick Garris. Mick Garris is a very gifted director and writer. But in Los Angeles proper, they took it upon themselves to censor his show, the local station, because they had just been bought by Disney. And they were thinking old Disney, Mickey Mouse Family instead of the new Disney. And they censored the show. Well, it made the show incomprehensible. And here's this poor director in L.A. inviting all his friends over, because it's a break for him, because he's known more as a writer than a director, and he shows everybody his work on this new hit television syndicated series, and it's incomprehensible. It has huge chunks of dead air and all this, and it's like, come on, guys, it's almost the 90s, and MTV has changed television, the magazine show format has changed television, radio is changing, and if you want to keep up with cable, and you want to compete with what cable's offering during prime time, television has to change a bit now. It has to rethink a little bit of what it is. That's why Miami Vice was a hit. That's why these new shows are a hit. That's what we're trying to do a little bit with these shows. And I think that's why it's really mandatory, especially with our show, that it's on late at night. Because we need that suggestive, violent button, for lack of a better way of describing it. Even though we're not allowed to show it, but we need to at least suggest it. And we even get in trouble with that. We even get in trouble with the suggestion of it. In features what they do. They shoot stuff more gory and more violent and more sexual than it even is on the script, so that the censors automatically go for that stuff and clip that stuff out, and then they leave the stuff that they originally wanted in. They give them something to cut out. And we're almost getting to the point where we have to do that now, because the stuff everybody that's working on this show has worked in television before. Jeff Freilich produced some of the most successful television in the history of the medium, and he knows that. But he knows not to put anything that's tasteless in the show. I mean, like if we're going to show, if we show, and this sounds like this is going to really sound gross, but if we show a decapitated head, it's not really a close-up of a bloody head. It's a long shot of a head, boing, 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 bouncing downstairs, and then it'll cut away to Freddy making some wisecrack about it. So the onus is lifted off the violence of it. It's in a jokey way. It's what I call black comedy or black humor. But now we have to like do it like 3 ways just so we can get the one we want in, you know, with the cartoon boing, boing, boing going, you know. So it's getting kind of frustrating. Anyway, that, to make a long story short, that's why we wanted to keep in the late night arena.
Thank you. Okay. Let's go for 3. You're right, sitting.
Yeah.
Before you begin, give me a sign. I'm just going to change the bed again.
Okay. All right.
Very quickly.
I'm stopped up, and I don't know why. I guess
Rain was horrible today.
I guess it was last night, yeah. But I hear myself. I'm like third eyeing myself here.
You think Freddy might be better in a half-hour format than a 1 hour?
Well, eventually the syndication will be half hour. See, that's
really?
that's the magic. Yeah. So that's, you know, that and the fact that I had to do part 5 to get the deal I wanted on part 4. See, I was going, Australia, and I surfed too, and I was thinking, oh God, Australia, surfing, decent money. It wasn't like huge money, but it was a nice check in Australia for like 10 weeks. Oh, Nancy and I could have honeymooned there. We haven't had a honeymoon yet. And we got married in October. We haven't had a honeymoon. What segment are we on now?
We're on yourself.
Oh, okay.
The good part. Before I begin, just so I know, you did a film with Henry Fonda.
Yeah, it's called Last of the Cowboys with Susan Sarandon and Eileen Brennan, lots
I
of
want to
people.
make sure I had it right.
Yeah.
Because I saw parts of that.
Yeah.
All right. How does acting in horror films different from acting in comedies, dramas?
Strangely enough, I mean, I'm an old theater dog. I'm from the theater, and I worked in your town. You know, I worked at the Goodman years ago, and I know all about Steppenwolf and everybody. I've been watching them for years. A lot of those people were up for parts in the replacement cast for Sam Shepard's Lie of the Mind, and I had a close friend involved with that production. So I'm a theater dog from way back. 6 years, nonstop regional theater with only Mondays off, and a lot of Shakespeare, a lot of the classics. Trained in London, and worked in New York and Chicago and Detroit for years, and Boston and everything. And the difference between horror movie acting and regular film acting is that for the first time in my career as a film actor or television actor, I'm using techniques and tricks that I used in the theater. Because of the makeup, because of the scenery that surrounds me, the surrealism or the stylization in the scenery on Nightmare on Elm Street, because of the camera angles and the lighting, the dramatic lighting, and the music, I have to live up to that. So it's very operatic at times. And for years, I've been throwing away all of that training and discarding it. And now, going in a behaviorist mode, which is what normal film acting is about. You learn how to kind of throw the energy and turn the energy down and listen better and listen stronger. I mean, they say acting is reacting. But in the horror genre, you have to be able to act again, which is what it says in the contract. I'm hiring you, Robert Englund, as an actor. It's not a passive thing like a lot of behaviorist film acting is or personality film acting is. You really must kick out the jam, so to speak, and live up to it. And that was like a change again, to remember how to do that and to realize that that was all right to do in the kind of strange reality of the soundstage, where it's not like getting that feedback you get in the theater. But I use a very radical physical characterization as Freddy. I don't move at all like Robert Englund. I change my voice for Freddy. I play older than I am as Freddy, and so I have all these techniques that I use in the theater, you know, that I'm using again in the horror film. And I can see now, looking at other performances, Jeffrey Combs, who's done so well by Stuart Gordon in the Stuart Gordon series of films for Empire, people like that. And I know Jeffrey's a wonderful theater actor, and I see him using those tricks too, and he's got quite a cult following now. And Vincent Price, and people like that. So and Boris Karloff apparently did one of the most famous King Lears in London earlier in his career. So, and you see all these actors that have made a name for themselves in the genre. John Carradine, And it's a chance to use that stuff again and get the film bucks.
What new doors have been opened because of Freddy?
The only real new door that's been open for me, aside from some security now, I've always done well as an actor all my life, even in the theater, and I never sort of had to worry about rent, except very early in my life when I ran a theater here in LA. But aside from the obvious, financial security, the directing has opened for me. Now, I was a director in the theater, and I was supposed to direct if V had gone into second season on V. And I surmised that had Downtown gone a second season, I could have, convinced Ron Samuels to let me have a crack at an episode. But the real break for me has been directing, which is always, although I just would be just as happy directing theater and having someone ask me to direct a play. So anybody in Chicago, I'm available. I'm cheap. I would be just as happy to direct theater right now in hiatus or when I have some time free. It came to me to direct a movie, and I was able to direct a movie before directing television, which was great. This is 976 Evil for Cinetel, starring Sandy Dennis, the Academy Award winner from Virginia Woolf, and Stephen Jeffries, who played Evil Ed in Fright Night, and two wonderful newcomers, Leslie Dean and Patrick O'Brien. And also Bobby Picardo, who wore more makeup than I did in The Howling. He's the guy that turns into the wolf in The Howling. And he's also the wonderful comedy doctor now on China Beach. But, I had a great cast, and I loved the experience. I met my wife. I did a good job. We made a gem of a little movie. And this all came to me through the heat or the juice or however you want to describe it. Sound like I'm working for the Washington Post now. But, the heat I had as Freddy Krueger, and with the success of Nightmare 3, generated that project, as well as a strange connection, as simple as a happy accident as that production company was in the same building as my agent. And I think the deal was literally consummated on an elevator. And I didn't know the writer. The writer was a young reader who'd worked for my agent's father when he was at 20th Century Fox, Al Rice. And Joe Rice, his son, is my agent. And Joe brought me this kid, Rhett Topham, to help me get sort of an instant cram session in Wes Craven before I did Nightmare 1. He was a huge fan of Wes Craven's. So I had known Rhett as this UCLA student reader for Joe's father, and then later on as a successful young screenwriter in town. And I always had a simpatico with Rhett. And in fact, Rhett wrote the script for my Freddy's Nightmares that I just directed. But that all came as a direct result of the fame and the popularity and the heat of playing Freddy. And it's interesting, you never think of something like that. You never think of a bonus like that. So I owe having my foot in the door now as a director to that and to the horror genre.
As an actor, you've played a lot of roles. There was even a role a lot of people don't know about with Henry Fonda.
Yeah, that was a movie that I thought was going to break out for me. I did 3 of those in a row, as a matter of fact. I starred with Jan Michael Vincent for Daniel Petrie, the director, in a film called Buster and Billy. I played an albino, and it won a British Academy Award. And it made a lot of money, and people still ask me for my autograph for that. But it didn't break me out. And that I was very new to Hollywood then, and I forgot that you'd star in a movie for 10 weeks and come back to Hollywood. Then it took a year for the thing to come out. You'd be back in the unemployment line. No one knew who I was in Hollywood, but I'd been a star on location with Jan Michael Vincent, who was I remember one spring break with Jan Michael on location, and there's 6,000 girls in bikinis, Georgia Peaches we called them, for down south, just to see him then. He was the biggest, he was like Don Johnson then. And then I starred with Jeff Bridges, one of my favorite actors in this country, in a movie called Stay Hungry for Bob Rafelson, who was the red-hot director in Hollywood then, and he'd done just completed 5 Easy Pieces. And it was Sally Field's first movie. And this movie turned out to be the movie that got her Norma Ray, which got her Oscar. And Sally was very nervous about that, and she was just wonderful and charming and vulnerable in this movie. And Jeff Bridges was great in this movie, and it also introduced a big guy named, guess what, Arnold Schwarzenegger. So this is 1975. I'm in Birmingham, Alabama for 15 weeks, hanging out with Jeff Bridges, Sally Field, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Scatman Crothers, Ed Begley Jr., Joanna Cassidy, I mean, it was amazing. That movie went right into no one saw it. It ran in Westwood here in Los Angeles, which is our little movie capital, for 11 weeks with lines around the block, but it didn't do business anywhere else. Now it's a cult film, but Bob did a splendid job with that, Bob Rafelson, but it just didn't catch on. It was ahead of its time. It was about pumping iron and all that before the health craze and the fitness craze really kicked in, jogging and all that. Then I starred with Henry Fonda, high point of my life. I'm sharing a mobile home with Henry Fonda in Northern California for 10 weeks. Eileen Brennan, Susan Sarandon is my leading lady, It's all I can do to fight off my crush on Susan and be a professional. And I want to just jabber and babble and ask Henry every question I've ever wanted to ask him, and I forced myself to limit him to one question a day. And I got all these great answers about that Alfred Hitchcock movie he did about the guy that gets arrested, the false arrest, and he told me great stories about Mr. Roberts. But then someone told Henry that I was a theater actor. Then Henry respected me, because he considers himself a stage actor. And once he knew that I was theater savvy, he talked my ear off, But that was an extraordinary experience. But now you have to understand, as a young kid from the theater, I've starred in the 3 movies I've just described. None of them has done well. And I'm avoiding television like the plague. Now my agent's going crazy. He's trying to convince me to do television. I've been turning down television right and left. So then I sort of changed my career. Then I just sort of said to myself, well, Robert, it won't get any better than these 3 projects. So now you just got to work. You just got to get into the process and just doing the work. And that's how I sort of changed my life after that. I just recognized that I just took every job that came along and learned to love the experience of the job as well as the end result. I could be disappointed in the end result, but remember that I saved the director's butt one night by getting it perfect just before they lost the light, or that I enjoyed the camaraderie of the people I worked with so much that became the value of the job for me. And that's the kind of actor I am now. I enjoy the people, the crew, the other actors I'm working with. If the projects turn out okay, that's great by me. I hope for that. I go into the project hoping. But I've done so many things now that I wanted to be special, and they either disappointed in terms of box office, or they were not recognized for what they were, or I did great work on a, let's say, a mediocre television show, and no one was watching it then of any significance in the industry to recognize that maybe I did some splendid work in a populist fare. So I'm sort of come to terms with all of those inequities in the business, and now I just enjoy the process of the work and the day-by-day challenge of any particular scene or special effect or getting to work with a great actor. When I used to do guest star work, I worked with all the actors I ever wanted to work with, off-Broadway that I didn't get to work with. I wound up being unequal to them on the set in terms of billing and money. And yet these were actors I'd respected and idolized all my life. So there was a sort of an irony there, but a sort of an equal thing that worked out for me. I'd be doing a police story or a Kojak or something and working with actors I'd always respected, and that was sort of where I became an equal. To have missing that off-Broadway show or something that I did a couple years earlier when I was paying my dues out here. So it all evened out for me, and I'm very happy with that. And I learned a lot. It's a place to learn stuff. And as I said earlier, learning that behaviorist film trick it's strange to learn to just be there. Being there, it takes on a whole new meaning in film work.
Now, a lot of people don't know it yet, but you're going to be in The Phantom of the Opera.
Yes, oh God, makeup again. Oh. Kevin Yeager, who my makeup man, who designs Freddy, and who did all the best stuff in Cocoon, and the big hit now, Child's Play, Chucky. That's all Kevin's design and execution, the Chucky monster doll that sort of metamorphosizes. And Kevin's doing Phantom for me, and I'm waiting with bated breath right now for the first drawings of the design of the Phantom. We're going to use the reality idea that the Phantom lives in the bowels of the opera, and that he has access to all the paint pots of the opera company and the chorus girls, and he steals their makeup, and he steals wigs or hair from their wigs, and he puts together this face to pass in public with. You will see him putting it together over the raw tendons and musculature of his own deformity. So that's going to really be fun, but I'm not looking forward to that day on this set. For me, it's going to be hell, and it's going to be very intricate because you're going to have to see him. Like, we literally have him taking like a David Cronenberg type, antique surgical needle and stitching on the skin. You will see him stitching on the skin, and pushing it through and making himself sort of passable, and then putting the makeup on over that to kind of pass. It will be sort of theatrical. The skin will be lighter. We'll see kind of the grease paint, the white clown base, and the exaggerated eyes. And he'll put an eyebrow on because he probably doesn't have any eyebrow. Put the wig on, and he'll be this sort of strange, garish look. Go out into his opera box and listen to Christine sing. So I'm looking forward to it. I get to go to Budapest. I've never been there. I'm getting we're going through all Nancy and I are going through all the getting the visas and all the stuff because it's literally behind the Iron Curtain, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, they'll be working my tail off there, but I understand that the city of Budapest is built over 13th and 14th century Turkish baths. So I figure one day a week they'll just drag me into the baths and I'll be pummeled by, some big Hungarian woman or something and get me back ready to work the next day. But I mean, all kidding aside, I'm really looking forward to it. It's what you look forward to as an actor, is getting the exotic location. And I don't think you can get much more exotic than Budapest.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Now if I can just ask you a few weird questions that we're
For you. Right, we're going to shoot you?
We are, but we're just going to do a few more questions.
Oh, okay.
Okay. The first one, you see what we're going to do is piece together Star's favorite basic magazine type stuff. What's your favorite color?
Oh, great favorite color. Actually, it's non-color. I like gray. Gray and green. I do like green, dark green, forest green, British racing green.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's your favorite all-time film?
I would say if it was a desert island situation, it would be either Betrayal with Ben Kingsley right now, or maybe Touch of Evil by Orson Welles.
What do you find is a mystique about Hollywood?
I don't know if I'm answering this right, but what I still love about this town is that on Friday, you could have lived here 10 years and eaten SpaghettiOs and be collecting unemployment. And somebody will read that script at home on Saturday in their mansion in Beverly Hills, and on Monday, they will pay you enough money to have made that 10 years worth your while. And it still happens here every week, once a week. It's happened to friends of mine. It still is happening to friends of mine. And friends of mine that have seen me go from 0 to 60. And I do love, I guess it's Go West, Young Man, or Manifest Destiny. It's still the place that happens in this country. It truly does happen. Doesn't mean to get off the bus. Don't take the next Greyhound to Hollywood if you're not prepared, if you don't love acting or writing or directing. But it happens here all the time. It happened to my ex-girlfriend 2 years ago. She wrote Lost Boys, film Lost Boys. She'd been knocking around for 10 years. And I'm not privileged to divulge what she made for that movie, but this girl's never stops working now. She's, and it happens all the time.
And the last one, what's your favorite pizza topping?
Oh, my favorite pizza topping? Okay. God, they're going to hate me in Chicago. Oh, I'm going to get kicked out of all my favorite Chicago haunts when I answer this one. Oh, God. Okay. I'm sorry. I like those light and the low for California pizzas. Right down the road here. You're going to pass when you guys drive out of here. It's artichoke hearts, Canadian bacon, extra cheese, extra tomato sauce.
Perfect. And now one more thing.
I love Chicago and Boston pizza. I hate New York pizza.
I've never been there.
Oh, it's like cardboard. It's like cardboard with
Really?
ketchup on it, heated up.
Call
And they
down.
love it. Oh, yeah. They love it because they grew up with it, right? Well, you could grow up with dog meat, but, Yeah.
Call Domino's.
Yeah.
The next thing we wanted to do is a promo, if you could. Where you
Sure.
said, I am Robert Englund. Watch Barry Roskin and Dan Sherman on Down in Front.
Barry Roskin.
Roskin.
Okay, and Dan Sherman on...
Down in Front.
Hi, Robert Englund here. Some of you may know me as Freddy Krueger, and I want you to stay tuned for Barry Roskin and Dan Sherman on... I forgot.
Down in Front. Down in Front.
Okay. All right. Barry Roskin, Dan Sherman on Down in Front. Hi, Robert Englund here, and I want you to watch Down in Front with Barry Roskin and Dan Sherman.
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay?
Reversals.
All right. Reversals.
Reversals.
Now, you going to move, or are you just going to move into
No,
my
actually,
place?
I don't even have to. That's right.
You don't have to do a thing.
Oh, okay.
He just shoots across with you and I.
Great. He can move.
I will ask you to switch microphone.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
There you go. Oops.
Actually, before you take that off, could you do me a favor?
Hi, Robert Englund here. Some of you may know me as the guy that plays Freddy Krueger. When I'm in Skokie, I watch the Skokie channel, Channel 17. Watch it or die!
How'd you get cast as Fred Krueger?
Oh, it's an interesting question. I was starring in a television series, actually it was a mini-series of V at the time, and this project came along. And,
Perfect. What are you going to do now that all the Nightmare kids are dead?
Oh, the Nightmare kids. I think what we're going to do on Nightmare 4, or 5 actually, is Lisa Wilcox, who played Alice, she survived, and I think she kind of returns pregnant. Freddy's without powers, and I believe it's sort of like Rosemary's Baby. He's gonna...
Okay. Quick. Okay. Did you ever think Fred Krueger would obtain the celebrity status he's got? I mean, celebrity.
No, I'll tell you. Don't let anybody tell you that we thought this was going to be a hit. No one's more surprised than New Line and Wes Craven and myself. We knew we made a good little film, but we didn't realize that it was going to be the phenomenon it's become.
What do you think, let me rephrase that again, what makes Freddy different from all the other horror figures?
Well, there's a personality work there. Freddy enjoys his sweet revenge and the sense of humor. I think that basically distinguishes him from Dracula. Was not a lot of laughs.
No, he wasn't. Very dry. I just went through a course on the psychology of fear, and we went through weeks of Dracula, Nosferatu. Yeah. All right. Okay, the last one in this section. What do you think is going to happen in Nightmare on Elm Street 5?
I'm not really sure. I know that there's this Rosemary's Baby idea of the character Alice that we bring back from Part 4. And Freddy apparently is without powers, so he's going to infect her.
Okay, perfect. Next section. Okay. What did you first think about the idea of a Freddy Tolkien series?
Well, I mean, we'd been approached for years because of the success of the Nightmare on Elm Street series, but I wasn't really looking forward to anything until Lorimar got on the stick and had this idea to do a Twilight Zone, Alfred Hitchcock kind of presentation.
Okay. What about the competition, like Friday the 13th, and now I heard there's even going to be a Creepshow, the series?
You know, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of those, but I did see the tail end of the new series Monsters a couple nights ago, and it looked very interesting, dramatic angles.
Okay. What do you think the series has to offer that the films don't?
Well, the difference in the series is, I mean, they're a little, they're not obviously as violent, but there's more of a parable, I think, in each episode. Someone gets their comeuppance, you know. Although you're not supposed to necessarily sympathize with Freddy, the punishment that's meted out is certainly deserved.
Perfect. Okay. What do you think about the producers asking stations to put Freddy on in a late-night spot?
Well, I'm for that. You know, we sold the series into the syndicators. It was sort of like understood that it needed to be on late night to have the sort of subversive, cutting edge of new kind of guerrilla television that it does.
Okay. You've acted in comedies and dramas. How do you find, what's different about acting in horror? But
well, for me, the irony is that as Freddy Krueger, I use more of the technique from theater than I have ever before on film. Film is very different work than stage work, and mostly behavioral. But with Freddy, you know, you get to be larger than life.
okay. What new projects are coming up for you?
Well, I'm off to Budapest in early March to do the straight traditional version of Gaston Leroux's Phantom of the Opera for Canon Films.
All right, we're going to reverse the question a little. We're going to go back one. Now, you did a film a while ago with Henry Fonda. What was that like?
Oh, that was like maybe one of the high points of my career in life. Last of the Cowboys with Henry Fonda. This was in Sarandon and Eileen Brennan. And the great experience for me was I got to like share a mobile home with Henry for like 10 weeks up in Northern California and ask him all the questions I've ever wanted to ask him about his movies and his stage work.
I think that would about do it for all the reversals. Any more you'd like to do?
Take off the glasses and look interested.